First, the facts. Fay Weldon, born in London, early years in New Zealand, parents divorced, brought up by mother, grandmother and sister, unmarried mother at 20, and now married, 4 sons. 8 books to her credit, and a reputation as a feminist. And the reputation I want to start off with, though, is what I call you a philosopher in your new book, your most recent book, A President's Child. One of the things you came up with was television is a strange place to seek truth. And I thought, well, here we are in a television studio where I spend quite a lot of my time. Do you not think it's an easy place to seek truth?
Well, I think the difficulty is, I suppose, is what is truth. And if you say that's philosophy, I suppose it is. I suppose to those who practice it, television is a fairly obvious place to seek truth, because what are you doing but asking me questions which you hope I will reply truthfully, and I will certainly try to do so. But to the outside world, I suppose it does seem rather more meretricious, perhaps, in that there is a whole organisation and administration which is making money and handing on what is really entertainment and not wisdom.
But why do people feel that so particularly about television when they don't particularly feel it about books, do they?
Because not many people read books, and everybody watches television, which means that what appears on the screen must do for both the most intelligent and the most simple, and all stages in between. Therefore, it can't really be all that subtle. Books can.
You also say that television is the new priesthood. Now, that rather surprised me.
Well, that I do believe. I do think you can and do see truth on television, that in fact perhaps truths are simpler than the most educated and the most philosophical would like to believe, and in fact that those who run and produce television have the most extraordinary responsibility and the most amazing power over the way people react in their own lives, what they think, what they believe, what they aspire to. It's enormously powerful.
More powerful than magazines, newspapers?
Oh, yes.
I feel that it's overestimated. I think that you can get very quick and subtle power in magazines, for instance.
It depends who you're writing for. Certainly in the whole area of women's magazines, I suppose, the sort of upper reaches, yes, it will give you a view of your own psychology, I suppose. Again, fairly crude, but workable. But when you read, you take out of the written word what you want to take out of it. When you watch television, you watch a presenter. A human being is talking to you, a human being who has been placed there and has, by the powers that be, and who therefore has a reputation and responsibility, and by God, out there you believe it.
You make the presenter in your book the heroine, which of course I was closely trying to identify with all the time. But you made it sound as if you thought that she had to be of scrupulous morals in order to be in front of the camera. Now, is that like saying that politicians have also got to have scrupulous characters in order to be in public life? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, I think I am saying that. Now, I don't mean it in the Victorian sense that they have to have a conventional sexual morality, but that is not what I mean by morality. I think you have to be conscious of what you're doing, responsible for yourself and your own actions, and at least try to behave well, though you may not succeed. I think you just have to be aware of the moral distinctions that lie within one's own life.
But then you, as a writer, have got to have that feeling of responsibility to your reader, haven't you?
Yes, I think writers do. I think in this country in particular, they all feel it. I think it runs so deep. They're almost very often not aware of it. Certainly all the television writers I know, the good ones, at any rate, have this very profound sense of a responsibility to an audience which includes the disturbed and the depressed and the lonely and the miserable, as well as all the others, and act according, write according, and producers and directors also act according.
A President's Child, your thriller, really, it is, isn't it? It's a sort of thriller.
Yeah.
I found it very interesting because I've read most of all, actually, your other books, and I've always noted how full of anger they are, and I would say full of hatred of men. I've stunned you. Now, I think that's what was been some of the feelings I've had in your books before.
Yes, well, it must be personal, and that is all I can say is how you will receive what I write. I mean, I myself don't suffer from great hatred of men. I think it is quite surprising in my novels to discover men portrayed as they are usually not portrayed, that is, as fallible human beings. I don't think the men in my book certainly behave any worse than the women, but it's rather unusual to see men portrayed as in fact men are in real life. Women are accustomed to being in fact insulted, ignored, injured and insulted in novels written by men.
So in other words, you are maintaining that you haven't been angry and full of hatred of men in your previous books. It's only my interpretation of
Well,
that.
it is not many, but quite, I mean, enough people to make me take notice will say, yes, that is what they pick up. But then, why does one write books? What makes one write books? I mean, why not do something more comfortable or cosy? Yes, certainly one is moved by indignation, but I think I'm moved not by indignation of men. I mean, I have a husband and 4 sons, and I'm certainly not moved by hatred towards them, but perhaps towards a dislike of the conditions in which women have to live and the expectations that are made upon them, which is, on the whole, that they should do all the work and have none of the fun.
Well, I was going to say, before you've now contradicted, that that was what your books were about, and fair enough, but I still had a feeling myself that there was an anger in you, a really bitter anger, on behalf of women, if you like, as a writer, right? Now, in this new book, I felt that anger had somewhat subsided. And in fact, I mean, surely you were even saying inside the book, feminism is a luxury, and it's not a question of male versus female. It is the fit versus the it's fit and unfit. It's nothing to do with the real distinction between men and women anymore.
Yes, I think I said it, and I agree with it. The world changes, I change. I mean, sometimes we change in step, sometimes we don't. The role of the writer of fiction has perhaps changed and doesn't any in this particular country at this particular time, and I personally don't feel I have to speak on behalf of other women in the sense that I used to have, because there are more than enough people to do it. There used to be a great kind of, you're right, there was a great sort of battened down resentment, I think, of the unfairness of things, which has now found a voice, for good or bad, and indeed, I don't feel it's my responsibility anymore to deal with it.
But
so
you
much.
did feel a responsibility to write about things to make women aware of the kind of thing they were putting up with.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yes,
And
of course.
I mean,
Yes, of course.
were you not in some way responsible for people becoming aware of something very unsatisfactory in their lives as women?
I and many others.
Yes, quite.
Yes, I think so. I think in a way, I was first generation revolutionary, and the second wave has come along and taken over.
Well, now, do you not think that there is a part of the very strong feminism that makes it appear to people that what women are saying is, I hate men?
I'm sure there are many women who do hate men. There are many women who hate men with what they see as good reason, but that is not what feminism was. It may be what feminism is becoming in the minds of many people, in which case all that will have to happen is that the word will have to change. Women's lib had to change and became feminism because women's lib got landed with all kinds of connotations which in its purest sense it shouldn't have had. Then it became feminism. Now, in a way, perhaps it's the women's movement. I don't know. Or perhaps another word will come along. But I do think in general, I mean, forgetting men or women, that people, if what is worrying and frightening is that if you give people permission to hate, they will hate. And it's not to do with men or with women, just what happens to large groups of people with ideas. And it is quite frightening. But that was not, it's not inevitable, and it's not necessary, and it's not to do with, as I say, with women or men, but just with, I think, human nature. One does have to be very careful.
Feeling, as you have in your books, though, about women having to fight to come to some way of life which is more satisfactory than the life that they've been having
Yes.
before. During that time, you brought up 4 boys.
Yes.
Now then, how did you? I mean, what sort of different attitude did you feel towards them? Because you were feeling so passionate about yourself as a woman and about other women.
I don't know. It really doesn't seem to enter into it. I mean, I don't think I'll claim to be a very good mother. I think in as much as the concept of bringing them up never seemed to really enter into it. We got by. I mean, you lived together in a household and you sorted out according to temperament and responsibilities and rights and hopes and fears and all the rest of it, rather than by saying, I am a woman and mother and do this, and you are son and child and do that. We get by. I think according to the different temperament of the children is how they react towards women, rather than what I have managed to do by indoctrinating them, which seems to be remarkably little.
In your book, the interviewer, the Isabel, the heroine,
Yes.
goes for therapy.
Yes.
Now, I think I must have read somewhere that you've also been for therapy.
Yes.
Yeah, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, because it certainly comes over in the book. I felt as if you had, and then I've checked and I found in a cutting that you had.
Yes.
Why did you go for therapy?
Because I understood so little, or because I suppose I was so rooted in myself and my own personality and my own problems and my own feelings that I couldn't see, sort of universalize them or see outside myself as to what the reality was that was around me, which is very different from how you see it. I suppose really I was depressed and ignorant and knew it.
Yeah, but then, if you knew it, did you know what you were seeking? Did you know what you were seeking through someone else?
Well, it's a hard process to describe. Therapy, as I did it, is rather different from therapy now, which depends really upon a sort of very human relationship between one person and another, between a healer and a patient and somebody who offers worldly wisdom. But I went through a fairly more rigorous sort of neo-Freudian analysis in which, in a way, explanations are not offered, but you eventually come to offer them to yourself, which is the only real way, I suppose, of achieving any kind of wisdom, because it's very fundamental. It's not easy, and it's very painful, because the whole pattern of a personality, if you like, is built up by resisting unpleasant thoughts or conclusions or feelings about yourself and your own nature. And to be obliged to consider what you are is very difficult. I think it makes it, I think it's something writers, not, of course they don't have to do it through therapy, do need to do, is to know, is to lose their good opinion of themselves, if you like, to be almost in there amongst their characters. So when you say that as it were it comes over that I hate men, I'm rather surprised, because I see those characters also as me, you see. Or perhaps you just divide yourself into male, part of you see as male and part as female. That's a rather old-fashioned thing to do, because and probably linguistic, really. So that I think if I was a male in a position of power, which on the whole is what men have over women, that is how I would behave. So I must, if I hate my characters, I must hate myself as well, but I'm prepared to do that.
When you say a writer really must learn to, what was the word you used? Not lower themselves, but to have a low opinion.
To lose their
good opinion of themselves. Why?
Because I think, you see, if you're going to be convincing about your characters, or they're going to be interesting, you can't set yourself up as being better than they are. If you're going to do all these terrible things, you have almost yourself to know that you have, if your characters are going to be dreadful, you have to know that you yourself have the capacity to be dreadful, even though you hope you don't actually do all the things that they do. You could, you see. And it is very difficult for people to, especially women, I think, who so much trust is put as daughters, wives and mothers, to be good, to be kind, to be nice, to be nurturers, to abandon the notion that that is what you are and see yourself as a human being with a full scale of responses, destructive and constructive and nasty and nice, and be all these things.
When you write a book, you've said that you have no control over how it's going.
No, I mean something slightly different from that. I mean, no, you have to control it. You have to control it very much. You have to control your characters. I mean, when people say to me, oh, the characters just took off, I groan, because that is the last thing characters could or should do, you know, who's in charge. But it's a very strange thing, which writers will tell you of, that in a way the book seems to have its existence already and you to be the one who sets about recording it almost, or writing it. So that in that sense, once you have set things up, it goes its own way. And the other thing, practically, I think, is that a novel goes on for so long, and it takes so long to write, and whole rooms full up with paper, really, that in that sense you write what your skill, your character, and your expertise, if you like, has decided that you're going to write, because you can't, for that length of time, make it go off in a direction that is contrary to what you are, or your stage in life, or whatever it is. If you say this book is different or milder from the others, I would conclude I may well be different and milder than I was.
Are you glad you were born a girl?
Yes. I think perhaps I used not to be, but I certainly am now.
When did you used to not to be glad that you were?
I think probably in my mid-teens. But then you would never have had, then being a rather timid girl, you knew you would never have had the courage required to be a boy, I suppose.
The courage in what way?
But then this is just me personally. Well, the courage to make decisions or be forceful, or all the things which in those days, which is some time ago, men were supposed to be and women were supposed not to be.
And do you think you've acquired a courage that now that's made you glad you're a girl, and that you're glad you're not a boy?
Yes, because it's perfectly possible to be a woman and make decisions and have courage and do all these other things and remain a woman, which is a very, very, very satisfactory.
I'm glad you're going on to remain a woman, and I'm glad you're going on to be a writer, because more books are coming by the sound of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faye Weldon.